So it's grown then from that to our present day, which is continuing to add to it and to think about it and to have more people subscribe to these habits. And our goal in life is to really introduce the world to these habits and to make the world a much more thoughtful place. And so we have worked with many other people, some of them who are tuned in today, to carry these forward and bring them to homes and schools and businesses so that they become more thoughtful places as well. So that's basically the history of the habits of mind, starting with attributes of good thinking and then generalizing them to 16 habits of mind that are taught and learned and practiced by very efficient problem solvers. Our thought is that if these are the attributes of good thinkers, then if we taught them in schools and colleges and other places, could we make the world a more thoughtful place? And that's our mission in life.
So let me just add one little qualifier that I think is critically important, and that is that as we thought about it, and as when I joined Art and we were doing more research around it, one of the things that we felt strongly about was we wanted to make them actionable, because that was the idea. It wasn't just to have a list of behaviors if you couldn't do something about it. And so we wanted them to be behaviors, not just a list of names. So for example, a lot of people talk about honesty, and that's really an important characteristic, honesty. But what does it look like when you're trying to be honest? What do you do then? What do you do when you're really when you're striving for accuracy? That looks different with honesty, because now you're saying, I want to be honest. And one of the attributes I want to develop is, how can I be striving for accuracy? And then I might say, I want to be honest, but what else can I do from my habits of mind? Well, I might be thinking and communicating with clarity and precision, because that would also bring me to a status of feeling like I'm speaking with honesty. So what we try to do is, for example, persistence. People say, we want you to be persistent, but we said persisting. In other words, every one of our habits of mind is what we refer to as an ing word. It's ing because it's about becoming, it's about doing, it's about acting, it's behaviors that you can actually begin to observe. And we felt that that contributed to a lot of the dilemmas that people were experiencing of having a list of fine characteristics, but not the behaviors that were associated with it.
Definitely, thank you. And I can add to this discussion about making habits more actionable. And as an educator, I can say the intelligent behaviors, the terms intelligent behaviors, helped me a lot to see what those habits of mine look like in practice. I really benefit from what you described in your books, and to make it more actionable and also observable in my students' performances. And listening to you, I heard you were referring to mindfulness and thoughtfulness as well, and it is a part of our book as well. So I'm wondering how you define these two big terms, two important terms. What is mindfulness and thought? What are mindfulness and thoughtfulness for you? And how would these two concepts relate to the habits of mind?
Bena, you want to take that one?
Sure. Mindfulness, from our understanding and study, mindfulness is centering within yourself. So when you're mindful of things like how you're feeling at this moment, whether you are really capable of tuning out other things and focusing in on who you are at this time, that you can keep some of the chatter and the stress and all the things that are so associated right now that we have with our emotional lives, that you find your strategies for actually getting and finding your center, finding your way to kind of be within yourself. We then say that once you are in that place, where you are really finding that, you are now moving into a social world in which your inner world has to interact with an external world. And so now you're really saying that to be thoughtful, you're going to develop another level of your cognition. So your first is to be what we call metacognition, to be metacognitive, to be aware of your inner self, and then metacognition, to also be aware of how yourself is interacting with others, with the environment, with, as Art says, the problems, the challenges. It's like, what happens and what are the behaviors that we need to develop in order to be both mindful and at the same time thoughtful?
Thank you. And I want to quote from your foreword in this book, because I really find your definition very is bringing the importance of mindfulness, being mindful these days, the importance of mindfulness. You are saying that teaching involves the whole of us. It is our emotions, our ways of feeling in the body, our ideas, our qualities of character, and our visions of being. I think this is such a strong statement about mindfulness as well. And looking at the 16 habits of mind, I can see that some of the habits of mind are really directly related to the mindfulness aspects as well. For example, Art was referring to joyfulness before, something that a school added to the habits of mind list, and we have responding with wonderment and awe. I think this is a directly related habit of mind to mindfulness, because when, as you described, Bena, when we are mindful, we are aware of our actions, where we are, and central to us. And also, I think another habit of mind that can be related to the mindfulness is finding humor, because we are talking about our emotions and we need to acknowledge how we feel. And we need to find that joy in life, in teaching and learning process. I think something that maybe our participants tonight or this afternoon are wondering about, how can teachers help their students develop these habits of mind?
Well, the place to begin, we think, is in awareness, as Bena was saying. In other words, teaching students, first of all, the vocabulary of the habits of mind, so that we start with saying, okay, let's take a look at persistent. When do you persist? When didn't you persist? What are the circumstances that cause you to want to persist? So it's building awareness of the vocabulary, of the actions, of the definitions, of the examples of when you are not persisting. So there are both counter examples as well as examples. So they build the concepts of what are these habits of mind as a place to begin. But you don't want to leave it there. You also want them to apply these habits of mind to everyday life.